About a year ago in Chicago, I was walking down the street, downtown in the Loop. About 10 o'clock in the evening, a white cat walking down the sidewalk. He see me coming, he jump all the way off the sidewalk and get in the gutter. Scared to death. He said, "Mister, you're not gonna bother me, are you?" I said, "No, my man, I'm Dick Gregory. I'm dedicated and committed to nonviolence." He said, "You mean you are the Dick Gregory? You don't carry no gun or no knife?" I said, "No." He said, "You don't do no shooting or cutting?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, stick him up, nigga." Seeing things in the ghetto that most white Americans don't even know exists, and then they scream about black folks should respect the police. And we have to laugh at that, because seeing the things that happen to us in that black ghetto and the things that we have to see, they couldn't have respect for that policeman. And also, it seems to be something that a lot of people fail to understand, that when the civil rights movement started, there was a passionate resentment for the police, not because he was any worse, not because, matter of fact, there's less police brutality now since the civil rights movement than it was before. But the problem is, to grow up in a black community in America and all your life see the whore, the prostitute, the pimp, and the dope pusher, and the cop, and this dope pusher that's really a detriment to not only the black community, but to any community, and not being molested by the police, and then I look at a black civil rights worker come in my community to uplift me, and he gets all this static from the police. You know, the cops is watching them, they knocking them down, they making arrests. You know, look what happened with Father Groppy. Father Groppy's in jail because he tried to lead black folks to a better way of life. Why don't they arrest the pimps, the whores, and the hustlers in Milwaukee? So we look around and we see a system that don't do anything good for me at all. You know, in the 1968 Civil Rights Bill that was passed, the housing bill, they also tacked onto that bill a segment called the anti-riot section, which you can't cross the state line. And if you look at America, how much he's used the anti-riot section, the 8 kids that's on trial in Chicago was busted under that new civil rights bill with the anti-riot section. The weathermen that came to Chicago to demonstrate a couple of weeks ago, they are being investigated under it. So we look at white folks that can take a civil rights bill, and the part that would do me the most good as far as enforcing housing, they're not that stuck on, but the part that can put somebody in jail for either rallying behind my cause or trying to bust the system, this is the part that they're using. And so, you know, black folks more and more is getting, you know, tremendously alienated with the system. And many people don't seem to understand what we're talking about, mainly because many people don't understand what black folks is going through. Now we're looking for 500, right? How many kids gonna be there?
Hey, Greg,
yeah.
You want to, please, yeah, I got company.
Right, come on. Y'all come on, sit down on the floor, let's talk. Well, you have any questions you want to ask first? That each one of you had to ask one question before you could leave. Think about it, and then tell me what would it be.
When did the natural styles come out?
Well, let's go back to slavery, right? We came here, we had natural, kinky hair, right? Then we start combing our hair so it could look like the slave master, right? Now, my woman went to the beauty parlor and got a hot comb on her hair to straighten it out so it could look like the master's wife, right? Now we're in trouble, right? Because anytime I want to emulate and look like the people who have misused me, then we're in trouble. So what happened, you had young black folks like Stokely and Rapp that was hip enough to know that we needed an identity. That identity was not with the man up on the hill. That identity was not with a Cadillac. That identity was not with how far you could hit a baseball. That identity was not where you lived. That identity was not how many A's you made in school. that identity was with self, right here, with self. Then all at once we start talking about black is beautiful. Black is beautiful. We had to counteract the thing we've heard so long that black was not beautiful. That a little black lie. It was always a black lie. You know, it's always a black market means something bad. So nothing black ever meant anything good. And so consequently, when we talked about an identity, accepting me as I am, a man looked around me and found out my nose was wider than his. And he started putting me down, said my nose was funny, but man couldn't breathe without taking in air. So the wider my nose just means we take in more air than him. You know? Now he's the one should feel uptight that nature kind of shortchanged him. You know? And if you don't believe that's important, you go to the hospital, Jim, and you go to the White Hospital, them cats got them big oxygen tents. $400 for the oxygen. We don't need that. Most they got to do is plug up one of our nostrils. See, this cat got him a thing and he's getting too much air. You know? And so then we start talking about what is beautiful about us. We talk about the naturistic characteristics. We talk about the way we talk. We talk about the way we communicate. We look at white television and we can't communicate with it. You look at the weatherman. You know? Look at the white weatherman. He comes on. He talks about the weather in Oklahoma. Well, most black folks in ghetto ain't going to Oklahoma. I got to have a black cat to give me my ghetto news because I don't want to hear nothing about no humidity. You understand? I don't hear nothing about no barometer. You know? I don't hear nothing about no wind velocity. Because I get that through the hole in the back window. I know about the wind velocity. You understand? You see, and we're talking about communication. And with this black thing, we can't communicate. That's one of the problems you have in your school. You know? 9 times out of 10, you're in an all-black school. But you reading Jane and the Third Reader about some old white girl that's giving honey to a dog or giving a steak. And 9 times out of 10, the way she's feeding the dog is more than you gonna have for dinner. Now that book's good down in the white neighborhood where they're getting a whole lot of food to eat. See, it becomes a nice story. But it can alienate poor folks looking at Jane and the Third Reader feed that dog. It alienated me when I was in school looking at them white kids kiss them animals and knew how they felt about me. Tomorrow when I go to Birmingham, I will not go as a black man. I'll go as a human being. Before, when I went into Alabama, it was always as a black man. I had to be conscious that I was black. It meant life or death, you know. I would get spit at because I was black. I would know that I couldn't get in a cab because I was black. And I knew if I got killed in the South, it would be because I was black. And so when the Klan realized that, you know, that we had black people who was ready to die, there were not enough guns, there were not enough Klansmen, and the world was not enough crazy to stand by and look at black people get wiped out. Until you're willing to make that commitment, I am willing to die for a right. I am willing to die to rid the world of a wrong and replace it with a right. That a lot of people basically will play games with you. And so I think, you know, the real tribute of me going to Alabama tomorrow to the university to speak is to say thanks to the many people that was killed in Alabama. I look forward, and I wouldn't be fair if I said I didn't look forward to going to the University of Alabama as much as I look forward to going to Harvard and Yale or NYU or Southern Illinois University. I look forward to go because of what we went through in Alabama, because of George Wallace. I look forward to go to rededicate myself, to say what a difference a day do make, you know, that when you are armed with a strong moral commitment, that one man with courage is the majority, that you don't need a crowd. We never had a crowd in the civil rights struggle. We've always had one man to pop up somewhere. And so it's just like making another trip. Now, you know, there are no fears and there are no hang-ups, you know. And tomorrow I'll get on the plane and I'll go there, and it'll be just like going to any other college in America, with the one exception is the fact that, you know, George Wallace did stand in front of the schoolhouse door and say, you know, there'll be no black folks, you know, in this college as long as I'm alive. Your Birmingham flight. In going to Alabama, in Georgia, and Mississippi, and Tennessee, there was a tremendous fright that would come over me. Not a fright that would make me afraid to go, a fright that made me know I had to go. But in the morning, I'll be getting on a plane to go to Alabama. Before I would kiss the kids, I'd wake them up before I leave, and I would really kind of say goodbye like it could have been the last time.
Yeah. The building.
Hi, yeah,
Yeah.
very good. Fine.
Come over
Sure.
here. People from the university called us, said you'd be coming in.
Okay,
Thought
fine.
you could spare a minute here to talk
Right,
with
sure.
us. It's all right. Gregory, do you see a slackening in the civil rights movement, or perhaps just a shift of emphasis?
Oh, I think it's two. I think the civil rights movement have changed into a human rights movement, which is better for all concerned, because now we're talking about the problems of the Indians, the Puerto Rican, the Mexican, and for the first time of the poor white. I think this is very important. I think now we're talking about rural America, because until we solve the problems in rural America, we'll never solve the problems in urban America.
Did you participate in last week's Vietnam moratorium in any way?
Yes, I did.
What do you think of such demonstrations?
Well,
How did you participate?
I think it's going to have a lot of effect on Nixon. Nixon said it wouldn't, but I think if the president want to know how these young kids can affect the president, I suggest him to call the LBJ Ranch and ask that boy how much effect that young kids have on his future.
Okay. Very good.
Fine.
Thank you very
brother.
much, sir.
Fine.
Nice meeting you.
Pleasure.
I was going to ask you something a while ago about how did you, the South is so slow in getting integrated and everything. I was wondering, is the South doing it progressing faster now than the North, or what?
The question is, you said?
Is the South progressing more now, you think, than the North as far as the racial situation?
Oh, I think it have to, because they never had the hypocrisy that existed in the North. You see, I mean, everybody knew there was racial segregated schools in the South. Chicago spent $2 million doing a survey to find out the same thing any black person could have told them for free. And so, the honesty that have existed in the South means that the South, can solve its problems much quicker than the North can. You see, even there's a lot of sincere people that would like to solve the problems in the North, but just really don't believe it exists, because they thought racism was an Alabama problem. They thought racism was a Mississippi problem, when racism was an American problem. And so consequently, this is what, SNCC said when it said for white kids to get out the civil rights movement. It was a Southern thing. We got tired of young white kids coming to Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, bugging this racist redneck cracker when he couldn't take a nigger home with him in the suburbs of New York, or the suburbs of Chicago, or the suburbs of Boston. So what we were saying was, before you ever come down here and alienate your southern white racist brother, take a black cat home with you and bug your mom and daddy. The biggest breakthrough for black folks in the history of America happened a few years ago in the state of Texas. We got our first colored hurricane, Beulah. When you integrate that big breeze, baby. So I guess little by little, when you look around, you look in the right places, we doing all right. You can't turn no channel on television today without seeing something black. And it's about time. I got so damn sick and tired of looking at that white dove fly through that white woman's kitchen. Every time I turn on television, there she go, oh, Marge, there's a white dove in your kitchen. I said, if just one time I could turn on television and hear my sister run across yelling, Beulah, baby, there's a black crow on the biscuits. So if you were looking at television, you got to admit we doing all right. Matter of fact, last year we got our first black cowboy. Any of you ever dig that show? The what's the name of it? The Outcast. You can tell by the name of it, it's us. I understand next year we're gonna get us another black cowboy. So the first black cowboy has somebody to kill. I don't mean it like that now. No, they let the black cowboy kill the white cowboy every now and then, but you see, whenever it becomes the black cowboy's turn to kill a white cowboy, the script writers really got to go through some changes. You see, they have to dirty up this white cat so bad that when the black cat gun him down, everybody will accept it. You know, I caught one of them shows when the black cat killed the white cowboy. This white cat had just finished raping a blind paraplegic Salvation Army worker, right? "18 months I had gone out of my way to explain to white folks what black power was. I mean, even when I couldn't find white folks, I'd call them up on the telephone. Hello, are you white? May I explain to you what black power is? And black folks just felt after that tremendous heart transplant operation, you remember the first one in South Africa? Where the black cat gave up his heart to the white cat? The longest heart that pumped the longest in the history of heart transplant? That's black power. And let me be honest, you know, black folks all over the world was tickled to death when we found out the black brother was going to give up his heart to a white cat. Because you see, we've been knowing for years that basically there's really nothing wrong with white folks that'll change your heart, wouldn't straighten out. Let me say to you, black folks in America do not hate white folks because you got some niggas hate turnips. But basically, black folks in America do not hate white folks. We hate this stinking white racist system with these stinking white racist institutions, not you. United States Constitution that gives a man freedom of expression, gives you a right to hate me. Individual racism, we're not worried about this damn institutionalized racism. The United States Constitution that gives a man freedom of speech, gives a man a right to call me a nigger, but it better not drop no rope around my neck, never again. Freedom of expression give a man the right not to like me because I'm black, give him a right not to want me to live next door to him, and he got a right to exercise when I move in, he can move out, but he better not stop me from moving in. That's what we're talking about. No more. As a right, as a human being, I got a right to sit up on this platform and look down and be sick enough to believe that everybody sitting out there is gorillas. And ain't a damn thing you can do about it, but when I come down and try to put y'all in cages, baby, then I'm in trouble. That's a right I do not have. So we say that we do not hate white folks. You know, I guess it's just white people's ego in America that makes themselves believe they're our problem. But really, white folks, as far as our problem is concerned, is so insignificant. No, all white people in America could disappear today, leave nothing here but black folks, Mexican, Indians, and Puerto Ricans, and if we still had to take these old funny tests you make us take to get into these institutions, we still couldn't get in and you wouldn't even be here. No, we don't hate white folks. We hate this stinking white racist system, these stinking white racist institutions. But we want you to know we holding all white folks responsible for it. And that's what black folks is talking about today, this white racist institution. A white racist system that keep me locked in a black ghetto all my life, and I got to develop a different culture to survive with the rats and the roaches, and when I break out and come to your institution, you ask me the wrong test. You don't ask me about the ghetto. You ask me about the Eiffel Tower. And that's why black folks are saying in America, if you can't develop the right test for me, don't give me none at all. That's what we're talking about. You know darn good and well that Indian is up on the reservation, not because he wants to be there, because Americans keep him up there. Now that Indian came off the reservation in the morning to go to your college, you give him a test that ain't got a damn thing to do with life on the Indian reservation. Y'all can just see you now. Kemosabe. What's Abraham Lincoln's mother's name? What the hell that Indian care about Abraham Lincoln's mammy? Maybe we'd understand if all Americans had to take the Indian test before you could go to school. Suppose he drug you up on the reservation and asked you what was Sitting Bull's great-grandma's name. It'd be a dumb country, wouldn't it? Hard to believe we can be much dumber than we are. Not only do we lock the Indian up on the reservation, we control his education. We so dumb we got nerve enough to teach the Indian that Columbus discovered America. You have a big job. And probably the biggest job you young folks have. I do not advocate destroying the capitalistic system, but I say to you youngsters, you better work like hell to beat the capitalists into their rightful position, which is behind the United States Constitution and not in front of it. It's a big job. This country do not function under the democratic process. This country is not governed by the United States Constitution. This country is controlled and governed by the capitalists. And the sad thing about that, as long as the capitalists are ahead of the Constitution, it means in America we will always put our emphasis on property rights instead of putting emphasis on human rights. So you got a big job. If you want to change the system, then aim all your grievances at the capitalists. Don't use the Constitution, because the capitalists don't give a damn about the Constitution. The only reason they like the flag is because they make it. You youngsters got a big job. What do we tell you young folks in America? 18 years old, you're old enough to go to war and die for your country, but you're not old enough to vote. And I meet so many young folks running around talking about, I got to go to war and die at 18. I want the right to vote at 18. Don't be no damn fool. If you got to go to war and die at 18, you better fight to get the right to start voting at 17. As groovy as you young folks are, if you ever get the right to start voting at 17, there won't be no wars when you get 18. Last year when I was a presidential candidate, I let the whole world know, had I been elected to the presidency, I wasn't going to end the war in Vietnam. No. I was just going to pass a bill saying we can draft these old fools up to 75 years old and send them to Vietnam. I wouldn't kill them all you young folks, send them old fools over there. But that'll save us a lot of money on that Medicare. You youngsters must organize. You want that war over in Vietnam? That ain't no big thing once you youngsters get organized. In a capitalistic system, I organize across this country, and then young folks decide you're not going to get a haircut till the war is over in Vietnam. The barbers will go to Washington, D.C. with their razors and make that boy in that war. So I say to you young folks, you got a big job. I say to you today, be sure and watch all of us old fools, and particularly watch your mom and daddy, because you got to sleep with them. Oh yeah, ask them. Like, you know, somebody come by your house today and knock on the door. Your mother and father say, who is it? Or say, government inspector. So yeah, what do you want? Say, we want your dog or your cat. Say, what? Say, yeah, we just got a bill pushed through. We sending pets to Vietnam. I don't have to tell you how much hell your mom and daddy would raise if somebody tried to send that dog to Vietnam. Look. Be a shootout on the front lawn. You know, it's really not funny when you stop and think that you living in a country today where your mom and daddy would raise more hell if somebody tried to send that dog to Vietnam than they'd raise over you going to Vietnam. That's scary. So I say to you youngsters, you got a lot of questions you got to ask. And one of the most important questions you young folks got to ask, it's a simple question, but an important question. And that question is, if democracy is as good as we tell you it is, then why in the hell are we running all over the world trying to ram it down people's throat with a gun? And the day you young folks work to make this democracy work right, that's the day we can bring the guns home. Because you see, anything good you don't have to force on people, they will steal it. I say to you youngsters, you have a big job. Probably the most important thing I'll say to you all day is what I'm about to say to you youngsters now. We were so busy going to school to learn how to make a living, we forgot to learn how to live. Don't make that mistake. I promise you, if you go to this or any other institution for 4 years and just learn how to make a living, you haven't got a guarantee you can get a job and keep one when you get out. If you spend your 4 beautiful years at these colleges and universities learning how to live, I guarantee you making a living will be the simplest thing on the world for you to do, bar none. Oh, I meet so many people say, I'm going away to college so I can learn how to be somebody. Hell, you was born somebody. If you dumb enough to let somebody teach you how to be somebody else, that makes you 2 people. Check out what Sigmund Freud says happened to you when you become 2 folks. I hope you youngsters understand that all these institutions ever need to do is bring out of you what nature put in you, and we'll solve all the problems confronting man. Youngsters got a big job. Let me ask you young people to do me a favor one day this week. Stop off in the library and copy down the Declaration of Independence. Don't read it, just copy it. You know how to copy without reading, don't you? Sure you do. Here's the favor I want you to do for me. When you copy down the Declaration of Independence, keep it with you 24 hours a day. Never be caught without that declaration. Now here's my favor. When the ride season open up again, oh yeah, this system even give us a ride season, July through August. This season we didn't show and the whole establishment got upset. Where were you? We had the tanks waiting for you. They asked George Wallace, how come you think they didn't ride? He said, oh, you know them niggas is lazy and shiftless, they just got tired. I tell you where we was this past ride season. We got tired of stealing all them old bad, no good products. So this July through August, we decided to go underground and study the consumer reports. So when the ride season open up again, we ain't stealing no more Motorola's, baby. Now here's the favor I want you to do for me. When the ride season open up again, I want you to run home and get with your parents. And you black kids, you go home and get with your parents too, because you got some black folks living in them houses with you that think more degenerate and more corrupt than the Ku Klux Klan could ever think, and you do know what I'm talking about. And when you get home, take your television set and put it in the middle of the room. And turn on the evening news, because they're gonna show them niggas riding and looting and socking it to the town. And when you turn on the evening news, turn on Huntley and Brinkley, because they get close-ups. They get such close-ups you can recognize your kin folks. They Uncle Dudlow, I didn't know he was in Detroit. After you get your television set in the middle of the room, at that point, when you get the evening news on where they're showing them black folks riding and burning the town, at that point, I want you to go upstairs and get your parents and bring them down and put them right in front of that television set where they can see them niggas looting and burning, and listen to them. You've heard them before. Just listen to them good. And then my favor is this: after you heard them talking enough, I want you to go up and turn the sound off the television so them fools can't see nothing but them niggas burning and looting the town. And at that point, my favor is, I'd like for you to take out your Declaration of Independence, get way back behind them parents, and while they looking at them niggas burn, I'd like for you to read the Declaration of Independence as loud as you can, and maybe for the first time, them fools will understand what they looking at. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that when these rights are destroyed over long periods of time, it is your duty to destroy or abolish that government. I know at first them old fools is going to assume that was some message Malcolm X left for Rap Brown. But I'm sure with a minimum amount of persuasion, you'll be able to teach them that that was their beloved Declaration of Independence. That one with that mistake on it. That one where y'all forgot to write for white only. And you know, when black folks read it, we dumb enough to read this thing. We don't put white only on it. We dumb enough to believe that was for all Americans. But we know it's not, because when we do what it say do, you know, white folks wrote this. You know that, don't you? Yeah, we had nothing to do with this. We would appreciate it if you white folks would get this Declaration of Independence out of our black community. Since it's not for us, don't even bother us with it. Get it out of our black community. And right after that, we'd appreciate it if you come and get your little lily white, stinking white boy history book out of my black ghetto, because ain't no way in the world a nigga can behave himself after reading your white history. Not that history book of yours. You ever read it? That history book that tells me y'all landed at the Plymouth Rock and shot and murdered your way all the way across to California. Now you ask a nigga to behave? You can't be for real. You still silly enough to believe you can draft niggas into your army tonight, send them to Fort Benning, Georgia, teach them how to be gorillas, send them to Vietnam, killing foreigners to liberate another foreigner, and think that nigga ain't gonna come home one day and kill you to liberate his mammy. You got to be out your mind. Yeah, we appreciate if you get that white boy history book out of my community. That book that everybody wants to talk about a nigga is a hoodlum, a criminal, and I read your white history, it tells me you came to these shores and discovered a country that was already occupied. Now who the criminal? How are you going to discover something that's not only occupied but being used at the time? That's like me and my old lady walking out of here today, and you and your lady sitting in your brand new automobile, and my lady said, gee, honey, that's a beautiful automobile. I sure wish it was ours. And I said, well, let's discover it. And so we wish you to get that white history out of our community. Maybe we could behave. And when you take it out, read it. Sometimes we don't believe you read your history. Give me liberty or give me death. Who said that? Rap Brown, didn't it? What did Stokely Carmichael say? It's in your history book. Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. You see, maybe if you read your history, you'd understand me. People run around saying, black folks ought to have respect for the police. We can't have respect for the police after reading your white history, because we see, well, you didn't have respect for the police. It's in your history book. It says, in the early days, when the British was the police, a white boy by the name of Paul Revere rode through the white community and said, get a gun, white folks, the police is coming. Y'all do understand them White Panthers, don't you? And then the riots start out, the niggas get to breaking windows and stealing television sets, taking them home, and everybody said, we hoodle them because we steal television during the riot. What the hell you mad about because a nigga got enough sense to take it home with him? So I say you youngsters got a big job. Briefly, before I leave you this afternoon, let me briefly discuss with you black attitudes in America, and Lord know we got some attitudes, and thank God it's about time. In all honesty, we don't know what it is we've been doing in America in the last 2 years to alienate you white folks, but whatever it is we've been doing, we're going to keep on doing. Yeah, we noticed there's been more integration in the last 6 months than ever in the history of America. We don't understand what it is about white man's physical and psychological makeup. As long as niggas was running down the street singing "We Shall Overcome" and praying to that Jesus boy and being polite, you couldn't get enough dynamite to throw in our churches. You couldn't whoop and put enough of our leaders in jail. And all at once we've changed our attitude and just look like white folks is behaving. You ain't listened to nigga in 2 years. We don't know what it is about your makeup that the more we tighten you up, the better you behave. So we figure we ain't got nothing to do but tighten you all the way up now. White America tells us to be nonviolent. You know what an insult that is? The only nation on the face of this earth that's dropped an atom bomb on another human being is now asking us to behave. We say to white America, if you love nonviolence, prove it to us. Don't do nothing for us because we prove we'll burn a town down, but get up on that Indian reservation and liberate your red brother, because you can't find a better example of nonviolence over the last 75 years than that American Indian. What happened to your appetite for nonviolence? That Indian want a better way of life in the morning. He got to understand he dealing with such a racist, insane nation that till you make her peep up through the muzzle of a gun, she gonna keep you a nigga. Oh, that Indian want a better way of life in the morning. All he got to do is get out in Arizona on the viaduct tomorrow morning, catch white folks driving down the expressway and start shooting at them, pow, and yelling, red power, and whitey go home. And when that Indian tell you to go home, he talking about the big trip, baby. And just as sure as that Indian get to raising hell in the morning, oh, I can just hear tomorrow night, them stinking reds. And you turn on television next Sunday and look at Meet the Press, they'll be interviewing some old Uncle Tom Indian. That'll be saying everything the old fools want to hear. I can just hear him now, me like a heap of reservation. The problem come from them young bucks, them Stokely running horses and rap light clouds. Long as that Indian keep coming off that reservation and burning and getting him some blonde scalps and raping some of you white ladies, oh, you get upset, but you listen to him. Oh, that Indian raised enough hell this year, next year you have an Indian here talking to you. So I said we tired of these insults. Nobody know how bad insults nonviolence is to a black man than me, because I'm so dedicated to nonviolence. I had to become a vegetarian too, because I believe that thou shalt not kill covers animals too. But that's my hang up now. I don't go around preaching vegetarianism. I would never knock a steak off your plate. I never want you to put one on mine. I don't go around preaching nonviolence. I would find more satisfaction in being killed by a man than killing that man myself. That's my hang-up, though.
If a man was going to kill my wife and 7 kids, the only way I could stop him would be to kill him or injure him. I would not, but I do not have a right to tell you, you got to sit by and let somebody wipe out your family. That would be the route I would choose, and I have a right to choose that route. I would hope one day that you youngsters would create an atmosphere where we'd solve all our problems without killing. Since 1900, man has killed 90 million people in wars, and if that's not enough people to kill to prove we can't solve it by killing, then nothing is. And so I say that we're tired of these insults, and all we're doing really is reacting to these insults. Now people come up to us and say, how come y'all don't want to be called colored no more? How come y'all don't want to be called Negro? So you call us anything you want to call us, but it's safer to use the word black. We don't mean to put white folks in no imposition, but we looked around and noticed you didn't play no games with yourself while playing with us. A Jew leaves Israel today and come to my country, he's a Jew in Israel, he stays a Jew when he gets here. An Italian leave Italy to come to America, he's an Italian over there, he stays an Italian when he gets here. These jolly old Irish, they left Ireland, they was Irishmen over there, they stayed Irishmen when they got here. We noticed you haven't played no games with yourself, and we both made the same trip across that Atlantic. We left Africa Africans, but when we got here, we got to be Negras and Nugras and colored folks. Don't play no more games with us here. Call me colored nothing. You want to play some games? Call yourself clear folks. And so we're saying we're tired of these insults. Somewhere America got to understand she's dealing with a different black man today. 20 and 30 years ago, black folks in America had an empty stomach. Today, black folks in America have a full stomach but a hungry mind, and a hungry mind will not tolerate the same thing. An empty stomach did, empty stomachs deal on smell, and hungry minds deal on sound, and all at once this country don't sound right to us anymore. 5 years ago, 4 white boys burned up their draft card, and within 2 weeks' time, the Senate and Congress had passed an anti-draft card burning bill. We haven't been able to get them to pass an anti-lynching bill in 100 years. This country just told me she thinks more of a piece of cardboard than she thinks of my black mammy. I'll bring her to her knees for that. You can tell me I got to get a fair housing bill to live anywhere in my country I want to live. What kind of animals are you? That old white, redneck, Russian cracker broad, Stalin's daughter, a known communist and a known Russian. You ain't supposed to like neither one of them. You didn't make that broad get no fair housing bill to come to my country and live anywhere she want to live. Why do I need one? Boy, you got a record. That's why everybody's laughing at you all over the world. You pass one law and say I can't pee in the street. You pass another law and say I can't pee in the toilet. When I pee in my pants, you say I stink. Now who the fool? I say you youngsters got a big job. You haven't got much time. Straighten out this sick country, of course. Dick Nixon show you how sick the country is, a country with 200 million people in it, and he get ready to pick a high, moral, upstanding man for the Supreme Court, and he can't come up with nobody but a Hainsworth. And the sad part about it, got nerve enough. The sad part about it, got nerve enough to say Hainsworth is the most moral, honest man I know, and I believe that. He probably is. Hey, you white kids got a big job. Because your mom and dad is writing a check for you, going to bounce 20 years from now. See, it's a new world today. All you kids coming in the lily white neighborhoods and these old fools telling y'all about you can't integrate and can't do that. 20 years from now when this world make a different chant, going to be in trouble. Be in trouble. 10 years ago, if I was working in the automobile plant in Detroit and one of them racist redneck crackers called me a nigger and I punched him dead in his nose, you know they would have fired me? I might burn the automobile plant down. So for the first time, white folks got to be careful about what white folks see. This thing's going the other way now. That's what black folks is talking about. We tired of these insults. Oh, there's a lot of white folks that believe a nigger is the stinkingest, smelliest creature ever walked the face of this earth. Now, that's a groovy hang-up as long as you keep it in your own head. I'm not here today to convince you niggers don't stink. I say do your own research. Check the records at the cosmetics industry and see how many multi-billions of dollars a year you white folks in America spend on deodorant. Then check them deodorant commercials on television and see if you ever see a black armpit. And then figure it out for yourself. If niggas in America is doing all the stinking and white folks is buying all the deodorant, who really stinks in my country? So we said we tired of these insults. Oh, there's a lot of white folks in this country sick enough to believe because I was born black and they was born white, I'm inferior to them. That's a good hang-up as long as you keep it in your head. And that same white cat that tell you I'm inferior to him because I'm black and he's white, he be the first one to tell you if I go to bed tonight with an Irish woman, Italian woman, a Jewish woman, I can go to bed with any woman on the face of this earth and give her a baby. He'd be the first one to tell you that baby gonna be a nigger. My sister can go to bed with any man on the face of this earth and get a baby. The baby's gonna be her. Is that inferior stock to you? So we're saying we tired of these insults? Now white America's telling us education's y'all's problem. That ain't nothing but a cheap whitey cop-out. And if education was the problem, the Jews would own this country. Education's the problem. You ever stop to think one day how many millions of people would be dead today on the face of this earth if it were not for blood plasma? Are you aware of the fact that a black American by the name of Charlie Drew invented blood plasma? Now, don't take my word for it. Check it out in your library. Are you also aware of the fact that Charlie Drew bled to death in an Atlanta, Georgia hospital waiting room after an automobile accident because they didn't accept niggers? Education's my problem. The man with the wisdom and the educational genius to give blood plasma to the world died from the lack of his own invention, and education didn't have a damn thing to do with it. I guess I can truthfully say that I spend about 98% of my time today on college campuses, and for a reason. A simple reason is that you young folks in America today is probably the most morally dedicated, honest, committed group of young people that's ever lived in the history of this country, born none. And I hope young folks in America don't have to continue to read these old right-wing, cracker-controlled newspapers to find out who you are or what you all about. 24 hours a day we lie to you youngsters. And what's the number one lie we tell you young folks today? Well, I don't have to tell you here 24 hours a day. Number one lie we tell you youngsters, we say the number one problem confronting America today is the problem of air pollution. The number one problem confronting America today is the problem of moral pollution. This is the most morally polluted, degenerate, insane nation on the face of this earth, born none. And you young folks in America have the important job of giving America her sanity back. And so I say to you this evening, you youngsters got a big job. Of course, you're getting a lot of help. I hope you understand how strong you are. Young kids proved that last year at the Democratic Convention. 15,000 hippies and yippies showed up in Chicago to change the system, and the whole country went crazy. It's a very important word, showed up in Chicago to change a system. That's what they got upset over, change a system. Oh, they want everybody to believe they got upset because those kids was coming to Chicago to tear up the town. You white folks know better than that. For the last 10 years, white kids in this country been going to Fort Lauderdale, Florida every spring break, getting drunk, tearing up the whole town, and ain't nobody got uptight over it. They just say, well, boys will be boys. Ha 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 ha. $15,000 hippies and yippies came to Chicago to change the system, and that's what everybody got tight over. Best thing ever happened for you young folks was the Democratic Convention being held in Chicago, because it sure woke up a lot of you young fools. And ain't nothing any worse to me than a young fool because you got so long to be one. Oh, they woke you up. 3 days after the Democratic Convention was over, the whole establishment tried to convince you that you did not see what you saw on television. They said it didn't happen. They said the press created it. You know, if Kosygin and the rest of them fool Russians in Moscow was dealing with the world as insane as America, you know they could beat that Czechoslovakian rap. Just get on worldwide television and say, you didn't see it, y'all. Say it didn't happen. Say, we admit we sent little miniature tanks to the Czech border for the kids to play with, and the cameraman blew them up to make them look like real live tanks. But I tell you, them old fools in Moscow, Russia's making the same mistake these old fools make in America. They plot their little sick, degenerate strategies, and after they plot it, they only take into consideration the reaction of the old fools, and they never consider the reaction of you young kids. Oh, I'm sure when them Russians knew they was going to hit the Czech border with them Russian tanks, they knew the old Czechs was going to run like hell. I can just see them now. Be cool, y'all. We can live under any form of government. But it never dawned on them that the young Czechoslovaks, they would run, not from the tanks, they'd run to the tanks and meet them on the Czech border. And those pictures that came out of there with them young kids putting swastikas on those tanks gave people courage all over the world. Same mistake these old fools in America would make if Sunday morning you woke up and they got a tank in front of every church with a loudspeaker saying, anybody get caught going to church in America ever again is going to be machine gunned to death. They know what the reaction of your mom and dad is going to be. I can just hear him now. Well, Jesus is everywhere. We can stay home and pray. But what they don't know, if they put tanks in front of every church Sunday morning in America, come Sunday morning, young folks that ain't never been to church in their life, Sunday morning would decide to go. Again, let me say thank you very much. May God bless you. May nature have fun. Thank you.
Consciousness and comedy.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that when these rights are destroyed over long periods of time, it is your duty to destroy or abolish that government.
That's it. That was a good, like this one.